I'm Cruz Devon, and welcome to This Gay Life. We have a really wonderful show today. With us, our guests are Mark Gideon and Helen Williams, and they work with the Tent Theater. Actually, they work with Forbidden Tent. So Forbidden Tent is nothing that you need to get the kids out of the room for, because basically it's a fundraiser for APO, which is AIDS Project of the Ozarks. And right now I'd like to introduce my guests, Mark Gideon and Helen Williams. Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Certainly. One of my jobs is to be the fundraising chairman for the AIDS Project of the Ozarks, and that's what this cabaret is all about. Forbidden Tent is kind of a collaborative effort between the veteran performers at the Landers Theater downtown on 311 East Walnut, and also the current Tent Theater Company from this summer of 1994. And we put together a really interesting show. My real job in the real world is to be the public relations coordinator for one of the hospices here in Springfield, Missouri.
And Helen?
I am an elementary school music teacher here in Springfield and have spent some time doing some things with Little Theater, and am working now on my first performance with Springfield Regional Opera. So I do teaching and some performing when I have time.
Well, you both have somewhat of a drama background.
Right. I taught school for 13 years and taught speech and theater. Right. Can be every day. Right. So just applying my talents in a different way now.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Forbidden Tent? And you said it's a cabaret.
Exactly. This is the fourth of the cabarets we've done to raise money for the AIDS Project of the Ozarks. And always before, we would take different songs that we liked from different shows and just perform them in a very normal manner. Well, we decided that this summer we need to do something a little bit different. So we have taken different Broadway shows and are making spoofs and satires of them, and sometimes putting in the words that we would love to have heard sung all those nights we were backstage, or like to see the song done a certain way. For example, the audience that comes to the July 31st performance at the Tent Theater will see Annie and the Orphans 20 years later. What happened to those little girls after they got with Daddy Warbucks and everything ended happily? Well, we'll show them that 20 years later, happy endings don't always come true. And it's just a different way of looking at things. Some of the shows will be very familiar to people. We're going to take a look at Oklahoma. We're also going to take a look at My Fair Lady, Les Mis, Phantom of the Opera, and kind of turn the words around a little bit. You'll see the song Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better from Annie Get Your Gun, sung by Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. And it's going to be a whole different way of looking at the words and the music. Those folks that know the shows very well will get a great kick out of it, and even if you've never seen the specific scene or show before, you'll get to see a different way of performing it for the AIDS Project of the Ozarks.
Oh, what a kick. It just sounds like a lot of fun. You said this is for the AIDS Project of the Ozarks.
Right.
And, you might want to talk a little bit about other fundraisers that are going on or coming up.
Right. Being a member of the board of directors, I'm the fundraising chairman for the AIDS Project for 94, 95, and 96. And one of my jobs is to raise money to help complete the budget for the AIDS Project. This cabaret, Forbidden Tent, is one of the annual events we'd like to do for the AIDS Project. And this is the fourth one. We started a year ago, last August, performing cabarets. We did one at Chestnut Hall. Last December we did one at a hotel here in Springfield, and then in May we did one on the stage at the Landers Theater, and now we're doing our fourth and our final one at the Tent Theater stage on the campus at SMSU. Coming up we'll be doing, and we're currently holding, a photo contest. Black and white 8x10 photos are being submitted by amateur and professional photographers, and those photographs will be entered into a competition, and 13 of the best photographs will be selected to appear in a 1995 calendar that'll be a fundraising venue for the AIDS Project of the Ozarks. We're also looking at a fall pledge drive, looking at sponsoring a cut-a-thon with local hair salons here in town, and then we'll also have a Christmas event where people will be invited to come to a Christmas murder mystery put on by our local Little Theater performers as well in the month of December. And all of this is to go back to help provide patient care, because the budget at AIDS Project of the Ozarks, to fill in the gaps, we need about $38,000 by the end of this year to provide patient care. They are currently caring for about 190 clients in a 29-county area. A lot of people think that we just care for a certain few here in Springfield or in Greene County, and that's simply not true. The majority of our clients live in very rural areas, and the majority of our clients are no longer single men or single single women, but they are entire families. Our nurse case managers are walking into a home where mother and father and children are all HIV positive. So there is no caregiver in that home. The nurse is the caregiver because all of the people in that home are in fact patients. And we need this money to help complete our budgets. Our acting director, or executive director, Dave Peters, has done a marvelous job finding grants and other funding, but we still need support from the local community to raise money to help complete that cycle of care, to provide care for those different clients. Not only do they have the in-house clinic where you can come in to have the HIV test, but they also provide services by going into the homes in the different areas in the 29 counties. And that's where the money goes to. All the money raised at Forbidden Tent, the $10 admission, all of it goes back to help for patient care. SMS, the Department of Theater and Dance, Burn Blackwood specifically, have been gracious enough to allow us to use their facility, have incorporated the use of the fabulous performers at Tent Theater to have them do their part of the show, and they're not taking any money for it at all. In fact, they're not even going to sell tent fans or take chances on their raffle that night. They want AIDS Project of the Ozarks to have the full benefit of the $10. And so all the money that people spend that night, with the exception of the concessions, will go to the AIDS Project. SMS said, could we please sell Cokes? And I said, certainly, sell as many Cokes as you need to help them make their money, because the kids are giving up one of their only nights they have off is Sunday night, and they're giving up their night to perform for the AIDS Project of the Ozarks, and we're very, very grateful for that fact.
That's really wonderful. And $10, that's a bargain.
Yes, it is. They will see things on the Tent Theater stage that they have never seen before. And more importantly, for some of our cast members, will never see again. Believe me. We were dividing up the words to Annie's It's a Hard Knock Life last night, and we've rewritten the words, and people were either fighting over lines they really wanted to sing or going, oh, please don't make me say that on stage. And one thing we want to stress is, even though it's called Forbidden Tent, we're not making this a horribly lewd and nasty show, but we're taking a look at the different shows and spoofing those performances themselves. Children may or may not enjoy the performance because they may not get the joke. It isn't like the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner cartoons where the adults get the joke. That's the higher level than the slapstick comedy. But a child who's never seen Les Mis will not get what we're doing. But someone who has seen Phantom of the Opera, or at least knows the storyline, will have a great time. And everyone's seen Annie Get Your Gun. Everyone knows Fiddler on the Roof. And we're spoofing that show as well. And they'll get those jokes. And even if they don't, there'll be a certain amount of visual humor that they really should enjoy in the show. The last production at Springfield Little Theater was Beehive, a wonderful production of the 60s girl groups. We've taken that same cast and have turned it into Behind, a different way of looking at the 60s girl groups, and having a great time doing that. It's been lots of fun. In fact, we've come to the point now where it's like we can't add any more numbers into the show. There's just so much material out there. Yes, exactly. And see, because while we're working from the little theaters end of it to provide the numbers, the Tent Theater Company is also providing their own material that they're going to be spoofing on the stage as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. You must have some really great stories from like behind the scenes and practicing.
Well, there's been lots of really fun things that have happened. Helen and her husband Kevin have been gracious enough to allow us to rehearse in their home a lot because they have the piano, and Kevin is one of the musical directors of the show, so it's really easy for us to all gather at what we call the Williams Mansion to rehearse our different numbers. Well, for the May Cabaret, we got it worked out with one of the local television stations that they would come and get some footage of rehearsal. Well,
nobody told me this.
I forgot to mention to Helen the news team was coming over.
Oh, that slipped my mind.
To my house, right.
Right, to Helen's house. So we were in rehearsal on a Saturday afternoon at Helen's house, and we're just, in cutoffs and t-shirts and having a great time, and it dawned on me that I hadn't told anybody, and the doorbell rang, and I thought, I bet that's the news crew.
That's why you tried to get the door real fast.
Right, I was like, I'll get that.
Not me.
and Helen, the news crew's here. She goes, what news crew? The news crew doing footage for us. Oh, come on in. And the cast is all like, why didn't you tell us? I forgot. So we're just kind of standing around rehearsing and singing, and the news crew did a great news story for us, which helped publicize our May Cabaret. But those things are awfully funny.
Yeah.
And one thing that's wonderful about the people that I get a chance to work with on these cabarets is they're all professionals. They all are responsible performers who can be given a certain time slot of time and said, you have 5 minutes. Do with it what you will. And it's up to them to rehearse it and get it all together. And sometimes I don't see the final product until sometimes the day of the show. because I trust and rely on them enough to get their act together, literally. And that's a wonderful feeling for a producer or a director to know that I've given Helen 15 minutes and she's going to fill it and it's going to be wonderful material. Where I don't have to follow behind them and pick up the loose ends, because they're all performers. And the most part about it is all these people that are giving of their time and talent believe in the cause they're raising money for. They could spend their evenings and their Sunday evening when they perform any way they wish, but they've dedicated their time and their talents to raise money for AIDS Project of the Ozarks. Partly it's because all of us in the cabaret have lost someone that we have loved to the disease of AIDS, but all of us too believe in the cause the AIDS Project is doing to provide that care in this 29-county area.
That's really great. So what are you going to do in your 15 minutes?
Well, as well as being one of the aging orphans in the the Annie, a friend of mine, Scott Holloway, and I have taken All I Ask of You, one of the love duets from Phantom of the Opera, and we've been working on changing it around just a little bit so it won't be exactly the same meaning that I'm sure that Weber had in mind when he put this together. So that's what we're working on. And I think that's it this time around.
And we always end every cabaret with a song from Dreamgirls, which is called Family. It's not the Pointer Sisters, We Are Family. People always get that confused, but it's the song Family. And we decided way back last August that that would be our ending song, and we've kept it as our ending in every cabaret, and it will close out this final cabaret here in July as well. And it kind of sums up the feeling that none of us are alone, and that we are all a family in this cause and this concern. Because the public perception for the longest time has been that AIDS is a gay disease, and it was only affecting a certain segment of the population, and that's simply no longer true. A lot of people here in our community believe that the AIDS disease may very well be a just reward for irresponsible activity. But again, that's just not the case any longer. When you go into a home in rural Missouri and you're talking to the mother and the father and the two children who innocently got the disease through blood transfusion or other means, you can no longer say it's only affecting a segment of the population. I like to believe that not everyone is infected by the disease, but everyone is affected by the disease. We can no longer go down the street and look into the eyes of our neighbors and friends and think, oh, it'll never happen here, because it has. It's affected every city and every town and every state in our nation, and will continue to do so. We're going to make a big fundraising plea at the cabaret. We used to say that the next dollar you give will help us find the cure. We no longer say that. What we're saying is the next dollar you give will help to put food on someone's table, will help to provide medical care for them, will help to provide transportation to get them to the physician and for the care that they need. Because AIDS is a terminal diagnosis, but for the long-term care that they need and require and are eligible for, those dollars are very, very important.
Well, you were talking about family and a sense of community and that togetherness.
Right.
There's one thing I can't think of that does that better than comedy and music.
Yes.
I mean, the family musical movie has always been quite the get-together.
Exactly.
And I think it's wonderful that you're doing the cabaret with all those songs.
Well, and one thing we've learned from working with the different clients that we have at AIDS Project of the Ozarks, if you cannot laugh, even in the face of adversity, you're lost. And taking the different songs has been so much fun, because for so many of us that have been in plays at Little Theater or other places,
Doing it anyway.
we have slam-bammed every show we've ever been in backstage. I mean, Helen and I last summer rewrote the entire show, Bye Bye Birdie, and had a marvelous time redoing. And you'll see a section of Bye Bye Birdie that no one ever saw, but they'll see it Sunday, July 31st on stage at the tent with the song How Lovely to Be a Woman. And it's just a wonderful way to kind of you always wanted to see that scene played that way, and now you're getting a chance to do it. And another thing with the satires and spoofs is taking a character that would never ever have been in that show or doing that song and had them do it as that character, a la Betty Davis and Joan Crawford doing Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better. And just because the characters are doing it, the words have a whole different set of meanings, and you don't really have to change the words very much at all. And because the people that we get to work with are so inventive and so creative, I mean, we just have a lot of material that the audience will never see, because we just had to trim it down, because we can't perform starting at 8:15 Sunday evening and have it end Monday morning at 8:15. We can't give them a 12-hour cabaret. We're going to try and do it in 2 hours or less, but to give them the full benefit of all of the talent, both at Little Theater and also at the Tent Theater Company as well.
Oh, that's just wonderful. What I mean, the regular show of Tent Theater goes on around this, correct?
Yes, yes. This Sunday, July 31st, is the Sunday before their very last week of the season. And so this is really the last day those kids will have off before the season ends the following weekend, which is the first weekend of August. And so we selected that Sunday because it's dark, meaning there is no performance going on. And we'll perform on the set of whatever show is next on Monday night for the cabaret. But that's one of the few nights they had left. And we also, I knew from working in tent 112 years ago when I was 18, that by the time you get to the end of the season, you've rewritten every show in your head anyway, and you want to take that scene and do it a little bit differently. I've heard that the tent company has taken the song "You're the Top" from Anything Goes and rewritten those words to do at the cabaret for us. And so that Sunday is their last night off, which is a great thing to ask them, and a great thing for them to agree to do, is to perform on their final night off they have in the season. And then also, when they're not performing the shows at night, to take their own private time and come together with a show or a song they want to perform for our cabaret. And I must admit, when I presented the idea to Dr. Blackwood, who's the managing director of Tent Theater, he did not blink an eye but agreed to do it. There was never any, well, I need to get back with you kind of thing. They were more than happy to help, and the Tent Theater box office staff, the house staff, the performers, the technical crew, the musical directors have all been marvelous to jump in and help when this is really extra duty for them. It's not something that they're required to do by their Tent Theater contract, but it's something they're doing out of the goodness of their hearts.
I think that's something a lot of people don't take into consideration, that on a show this size, that you're talking about the lighting crew and the technicians and all that stuff. There is a lot of people involved.
Yes. In fact, we were talking technical aspects last night, and there'll have to be someone to run the sound for us from the Tent Theater people. Then we have someone to run the lighting.
We have some special lighting effects that need to be taken care of.
We're doing the song "You'll Never Walk Alone" from the musical Carousel. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. Well, we're putting all the special effects it mentions in the song during the song. And what's funny is the person singing the solo has no idea what we're going to do. He just knows he's been asked to sing the solo. He knows there's going to be special effects, but he doesn't know exactly what's going to happen.
I don't know if he's watching the show.
Right, right. No. And we're not going to tell him. No, right. We're not going to tell him, so it'll be a total surprise to him and the audience what's going to happen to him and around him during the course of the song.
Oh, and you think this is funny? No.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly, because it's not me singing the song. I'm just the producer. So anyway, but it's lots of fun.
Well, what are some other things that we can expect? I mean, you've talked a little bit about the songs and the little twists and stuff.
Well, one of the musicals we're doing, one of our performers, Marilyn Harper, is taking the song from Fiddler on the Roof. Instead of singing "If I Were a Rich Man," she's going to sing "If I Had a Rich Man," and all the things she wouldn't have to do if she had a man who had lots of money. We're also taking the song
I Could Have Danced All Night.
I Could Have Danced All Night, another wonderful performer and a very notable person here in Springfield, Paula Patterson, a wonderful operatic voice, is going to sing, instead of from the musical My Fair Lady, "I Could Have Danced All Night," she's going to sing "I Should Have Danced All Night," and will be in a certain state of physical dimension that if she had kept dancing, she wouldn't have ended up this way. And it'll be a whole comment on not necessarily safe sex, but responsible sex necessarily. And Paula's doing a wonderful job with it. We're also taking a very different look at the musical Oklahoma. And we're also going to be taking a look at Les Mis and Phantom as well. Like we said, Betty Davis and Joan Crawford are doing Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better. How Lovely to Be a Woman will have a whole different, we're not changing the words of that song at all, but the character that sings that song will be expressing a whole different sentiment on what it's like to be male and or female, if you get my drift. It'll be just a lot of fun in the show. There's also a movie that I think currently runs on cable, Men in Tights, and there's a wonderful song from the title song of the show, Men in Tights, that we're going to be doing in the show that we just discovered last night that we wanted to do. One of our people brought the song and that scene from the movie to our rehearsal, and we said, oh yes, we have to do this. Also, you'll see Annie before the orphans all come out, and she'll sing her new rendition of Tomorrow, hoping that she can get another job, and hopefully there'll be a sequel to Annie. Right, because she hasn't worked since Annie was first performed. Right. Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
But it should be just lots and lots of fun for the audience to watch.
About how many numbers are you doing?
Well, we have about a dozen that are just coming from Little Theater, and then the 10th Theater Company is coming up with about that many more. Now realize we're not doing the entire song in every case. For example, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better, we're doing one segment of it with Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, but we're not doing the entire number because, as we discovered last night, that song goes on forever. There's more 100 repeats in that song than Rodgers and Hammerstein ever mentioned. So we're not doing the whole thing. We're just giving the people enough of the song.
Little tidbits.
Tidbits, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we're also going to be doing a new number from the Indigo Girls' newest album at the end of Act 1 as kind of a fundraising venue piece. And we're going to tie it in by reading the names, the first names of those clients we have lost in the last year and a half. So people kind of get an idea of the magnitude of the passages of people that we have taken care of at AIDS Project of the Ozarks. Because for some people, it's real easy to come to a performance like this that's going to be real light and real entertaining and not realize that their $10 will go right from their hand to the AIDS Project of the Ozarks and be translated into medication, be translated into patient services, be translated into transportation costs to provide care for that person who lives primarily in a very rural, isolated area who is coping with a disease, and that $10 will translate into him getting to the doctor or the family getting some extra laundry supplies. Because we do stock a pantry, and when your funding is limited as an individual who is afflicted with this disease, it's much easier and better for you if you can come to our office and fill your grocery cart with laundry supplies and personal items than having to go buy it themselves when you need your money for other things at that time.
Yeah. But do you know about how many families in the rural area that you're helping?
Well, we have 190 clients right at this time, and a majority of them, I can't say a majority of them are families, but a good part of them are families that are directly involved. And it's real interesting to talk to the families because they didn't plan to have this disease. They did not go out on a Monday morning and say, I'm going to contract the disease of AIDS. I'm going to become HIV positive today, and I'm going to pass it on to my children through birth. They never planned to be in this state. None of us ever planned to be ill. None of us ever planned to have misfortune fall into our lives. But when it happens, it does. And AIDS is not a thing you can walk away from. It's not a disease you can ignore. But it's something that you can deal with and make the quality of your life as good as you possibly can through the help of AIDS Project of the Ozarks. One thing that I am constantly reminded of as I work with the staff at AIDS Project is the amount of compassion and care and concern that goes out of that office each and every day. There are 3 nurse case managers currently on staff at AIDS Project of the Ozarks, and they combined help to care for these different clients. Of the 190, 170 are the ones that go out and visit the home. And if you can imagine 3 people helping to provide care for all of those people, that's a magnanimous job that they're doing. And the money, exactly, it certainly is. And with extra funding and the grants that we're doing, we hope to increase the staff at AIDS Project. But the dilemma is, the catch-22 is, with the increase of staff, we need more office space. But we can't afford more office space until we get more funding, and we can't get more funding until we get more staff, so it's kind of a catch-22. But we're willing to, with the increase in funding, like from fundraisers like this and others coming up, to hopefully be able to look for more office space, and through grants to be able to provide for more staff. Dave was successful in a grant that was written about a year and a half ago that came through to hire 3 VISTA volunteers. And those volunteers will come in, be paid for by the federal government to work for the AIDS Project at the Ozarks. Well, we have the grant funding in place, but we really don't have a place to put them, but we're going to make room for them. And one of the jobs of one of the volunteers will be to specifically work on fundraising events. And that'll be a great help to me because all of this fundraising chairmanship for the board is really my volunteer effort and not my real job. But where I work at Community Hospices of America, they've been gracious enough to allow me to do my work for AIDS Project of the Ozarks because it does all kind of tie together.
You talk about volunteerism. What, I mean, like the average person looking at home, and it's like, of course they want to go to the show now. I know I do.
Right, exactly. You can't miss it.
But I mean, what are some other things that somebody can do? I mean, as far as volunteerism.
Volunteers can be utilized in a variety of areas at the AIDS Project. They can come in, and sometimes we need people to come in and fold and label envelopes to have a mailing. We just mailed out close to 200 brochures to area photographers for this photo competition that we're sponsoring in conjunction with Image Point Gallery and Photo Lab here in town. And we had a volunteer come in and address the labels with the sticky labels and put the brochures in and mail those out. And that's a wonderful thing. We also need volunteers to come to fundraisers and help us sell things. We have a volunteer coming in who is going to be selling our AIDS pins that we sell from the AIDS Project, and he's going to man a booth that evening to help sell those pins. Volunteers can be utilized with direct patient care in the Buddy program, and they can also be utilized in fundraising events and special events, or coming in just to work in the office to help fold things and file things and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it is, exactly. And it isn't a thing that they have to commit to 40 hours a week. They can come in 1 hour, 1 day a week, or 2 hours in a month and put together that time. But any time they can spare is of great, great need. We especially need volunteers who are available during the day, because sometimes volunteers are needed to transport patients to and from doctor visits, or to take them to get their medications and that kind of thing. And a volunteer during the day is worth their weight in gold. So many of our volunteers work during the day and only have time in the evening to volunteer. I have 2 gentlemen who won't be needed at this cabaret, but for the 3 prior, we needed 2 people to run spotlights. These 2 guys volunteered way back last August, and every cabaret they've been in place running the spotlight for our different shows. And that's what they do. They come run the spotlight for me, and they've run the spot before. They know that whoever's moving, hit them with the spot. You know, that's the general rule of thumb. Wherever the action is, that's where the light needs to be.
Well,
and they've been wonderful.
One of the schools where I teach, one of the teachers got her class together. This is at the Springfield option site. Got her class together at Christmas time, and they built little reindeer planters, and they built I don't know how many hundreds of these reindeer planters and sold them, and then that money that they made went to the AIDS Project.
Right.
Oh, that's
And this particular teacher has gotten her students together in several different ways to do things, volunteer work for the AIDS Project over the summer, and she has turned that into a real community awareness type situation for the kids. It's been wonderful for them.
And the education is invaluable.
Exactly. Because for every hour that a volunteer puts in to do some kind of work to help further the cause of AIDS Project of the Ozarks, they will get back much more than that 60 minutes they spend. Just to be able to do, and their smallest task is our greatest need. They think, well, all I can do is fold brochures and put them in an envelope. We need someone to do that. You know, if someone had time to deliver posters around the area to advertise the cabaret, we need them to do that. They never need to think, well, all I can do is. They need to think, I can do this for you, because whatever their talent is, or even they think their lack of talent, we can use that at the project, because we just have a lot of things to do every day. And it isn't the kind of thing that they have to, you know, they could call up that morning and talk to Jim House, who's the director of volunteers, and say, Jim, what can I do for you today? Or I have time 2 days from now, what can I come in and do? And we'll have something they can do.
That's really great. We've only got a couple of minutes left, and any last spiel or anything you want to really present on the show? Because it's going to be wonderful. I know it's going to be wonderful.
Well, there are 2 very important pieces of information: how they get tickets, and how much those tickets are. Tickets are $10, and they can be purchased by calling the AIDS Project of the Ozarks office at 881-1900, or they can also call or go by the Tent Theater box office on the campus of SMSU in Craig Hall. The phone number for Tent is 836-5979. And they can buy the tickets in advance, or if there are any left, they can buy them that night at the door.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank my guests, both Mark Gideon and Helen Williams, and I can't wait to see you at the cabaret. It's going to be wonderful.
Well, thanks for having us.
And make sure you get your tickets. Thanks for joining me on This Gay Life. I'm Cruz Devon.